Welcome, Sigmas. Step into the shadows where the rules don't apply and the game is played on a whole different level. In a world obsessed with labels, Alpha's leading the charge and Beta's following along. There's a force that doesn't conform, a force that moves silently, strategically, and without mercy, the Sigma male. While others are busy trying to fit into molds, Sigmas carve their own path, blending into the background only to observe, calculate, and outsmart. They don't seek the spotlight because they're already casting their own shadow. It's not about being noticed. It's about being understood. And while the world is chasing validation, Sigma is building a legacy. Here's something the average person will never get. Behavioral psychology shows that those who exist outside the traditional hierarchy are the most unpredictable and often the most dangerous. Sigmas thrive in this uncertainty, walking a fine line between power and invisibility. And let me tell you, it's not luck, it's strategy. And that, Sigmas, is your secret weapon. It's not about dominance, nor is it about charm. No, your true power is something far more elusive, more dangerous than any overt display of strength. It's the silent, invisible force that drives your every move. Now brace yourself, because what we're about to dive into might just change everything you thought you knew. Oh, and one more thing. If you think you're immune to a Sigma's influence, trust me, they've already seen right through you. Number 1, the relentless autonomy of a Sigma male. Most men are born into a system that teaches them one thing: obey. From an early age, they are conditioned to follow rules, take orders, and conform to expectations. In school, they're taught to raise their hands before speaking, follow the curriculum without question, and obey authority without resistance. At work, they're expected to be team players, follow company policies, and seek approval before making decisions. In relationships, they are encouraged to be agreeable, accommodating, and to seek validation from their partners. Society rewards those who fit neatly into its structure, those who play by the rules. But the Sigma male, he never bought into that illusion. The Sigma's view of control. Sigma males don't rebel for the sake of rebellion. That would be too predictable, too reactionary. Instead, they see control for what it truly is: a cage disguised as security. Most people willingly step into this cage because they believe it will keep them safe. A steady paycheck, social acceptance, and approval from authority figures all create the illusion of stability. But the Sigma sees the trap. He understands that security is often just another word for submission, and submission is not in his nature. Unlike the Alpha, who fights to be at the top of the hierarchy, and the Beta, who willingly accepts his place within it, the Sigma operates outside the system entirely. He has no desire to control others, nor will he allow himself to be controlled. He recognizes that true freedom comes from self-sufficiency, self-mastery, and self-ownership. Why society fears the Sigma? The Sigma's autonomy is dangerous because it's unbreakable. He is not bound by external validation, which makes him nearly impossible to manipulate. He doesn't seek permission. He doesn't ask for approval. And he damn sure doesn't wait for society to give him the green light to live on his own terms. This level of independence threatens the very foundation of societal structures, which rely on people being predictable, obedient, and dependent. The average person looks to authority for guidance. The Sigma, he trusts himself, he listens, observes, and learns, but ultimately, he makes his own decisions. He is guided by his own principles, not by external expectations. This is why Sigmas are often misunderstood. Some call them loners, rebels, or outcasts, but in reality, they are simply men who refuse to compromise their freedom for acceptance. While others are busy seeking validation, the Sigma is busy creating his own path. The Sigma's power, self-sufficiency. A Sigma male's greatest strength lies in his ability to function independently. He is often self-employed, financially self-sufficient, and emotionally resilient. He is adaptable, capable of thriving in different environments without relying on a rigid structure. While others are waiting for permission, the Sigma takes action. This is what separates the Sigma from the rest. He is not against society, nor does he seek to destroy it. He simply refuses to be a prisoner within it. While others are looking for a leader to follow, the Sigma walks alone, unshackled and unstoppable. Number 2, the art of detachment. Why Sigma males are immune to manipulation. Picture this. A friend tries to make you feel guilty for setting a boundary. A boss pressures you to take on extra work without proper recognition. A romantic partner plays mind games, making you second guess your worth. But instead of reacting emotionally, you remain unmoved. Their words don't shake your core. Their attempts to sway you fall flat. Why? Because you have mastered the art of detachment. Most people crave external validation. For the average person, validation is like oxygen. They want to be liked, accepted, and praised. And that's not inherently bad. Humans are social creatures. However, this need becomes dangerous when people rely on others for their sense of self-worth. This is why manipulation works so well on them. A guilt trip, a well-placed insult, or a strategic compliment can make them change their behavior just to regain approval. But Sigma males, they operate differently. Why Sigmas are immune to manipulation? A Sigma male is self-sufficient. He does not seek approval from others, nor does he base his self-worth on external praise. This independence makes him a nightmare for those who rely on manipulation to control people. Think about it. Manipulation only works when someone cares about the manipulator's approval or disapproval, but when a Sigma doesn't react to guilt, pressure, or emotional tactics, the manipulator loses their power. Let's break this down. 1. Guilt tripping fails. Manipulators often use guilt to control people. If you really cared, you'd do this for me. A Sigma recognizes this as emotional coercion and doesn't take the bait. He doesn't confuse guilt with responsibility. 2. Pressure tactics fall flat. A boss might say everyone else is working overtime. Why can't you? A Sigma male understands his own limits and values his time. He won't be pressured into overworking for someone else's benefit. 3. Mind games don't work. In relationships, manipulators use gaslighting or silent treatment to make their partner doubt themselves. A Sigma trusts his own perception. If someone tries to distort his reality, he walks away rather than engage. Why manipulators despise Sigmas. People who rely on manipulation thrive on power. When they can't influence someone, it drives them crazy. A Sigma's emotional detachment forces manipulators to face their own powerlessness. For example, a narcissist might try to provoke a reaction from a Sigma, only to be met with indifference. A controlling boss might realize that threats don't intimidate him. A manipulative partner might struggle to make him feel insecure. And that's the ultimate frustration, realizing that no matter what they do, they cannot control a Sigma male. Mastering detachment. The Sigma way. The art of detachment isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about emotional mastery. A Sigma male isn't heartless. He simply refuses to let external forces dictate his emotions and decisions. Self-awareness. He knows his values and priorities. Emotional discipline. He doesn't react impulsively. Confidence. He trusts his own judgment. This is why a Sigma stands out. He sees through manipulation. He is immune to control. And that's why those who depend on power games despise him. Number 3. When the world fears what it cannot tame. History has a way of branding independent thinkers as threats, not because they are violent or rebellious in a traditional sense, but because they challenge the status quo. Society thrives on predictability, rules, expectations, and social hierarchies. But lone thinkers, they disrupt that system just by existing. Take Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. He questioned everything, forcing people to think rather than blindly accept authority. What was his reward? A death sentence. Why? Because an independent mind is dangerous to a system built on control. Then there's Nikola Tesla, a genius inventor whose ideas about free energy threatened the power structures of his time. He was ridiculed, his funding was cut, and he died nearly penniless. But today, his name is synonymous with visionary brilliance. And let's not forget Bruce Lee, a martial artist who defied the traditions of his own culture and revolutionized the way the world viewed combat, fitness, and even philosophy. He was told to stay in his lane and to abide by the unspoken rules. Instead, he created his own path and became a legend. The Sigma male, a modern-day threat. The Sigma male follows in these footsteps, not by seeking conflict but by refusing to conform. You don't rebel for attention. You don't play by the rules just to fit in. Instead, you walk your own path outside of traditional hierarchies. And that terrifies people. Why? Because your existence exposes their limitations. You don't seek validation. so they can't control you. You don't crave authority, so they can't manipulate you. You don't need the system, so you're not bound by it. And here's the kicker. Deep down, they envy you. They see in you something they crave but fear. Freedom. Freedom from societal expectations. Freedom from needing approval. Freedom to think, act, and live on your own terms. That's why history brands men like you as threats. Because in a world that thrives on obedience, true independence is the ultimate rebellion. Number 4, the silent power of the Sigma. True power isn't about towering over others. It's about standing firm in who you are. The Sigma male understands this at his core. His power isn't flashy, but it's undeniable. He doesn't control others. He masters himself. And that's what makes him truly dangerous. Not in a reckless or destructive way, but in a way that commands respect without a single word. Unlike the alpha, who thrives on dominance and external validation, the Sigma male's power comes from within. He's disciplined, emotionally controlled, and unshaken by the chaos around him. This self-mastery allows him to walk through life with an aura of quiet confidence. He doesn't need to boast or seek approval. His presence alone speaks volume. Psychologists call this gravitational leadership, a form of influence where people are drawn to someone not because they demand attention, but because their energy is magnetic. When a Sigma enters a room, people feel a shift. They might not even understand why, but they sense something different about him. It's his ability to remain composed, observe without reacting impulsively, and carry himself with purpose that sets him apart. Even in conflict, he remains unshaken. He won't waste energy on petty battles or unnecessary arguments. Instead, he picks his battles wisely, always staying 2 steps ahead. This level of restraint and strategic thinking makes him a formidable presence, one that cannot be manipulated, intimidated, or controlled. And that's why the Sigma male is untouchable. His power isn't in how loud he is, but in the fact that he doesn't need to be loud at all. Sigmas, the world will always try to control what it fears. But remember this, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand apart. The refusal to be controlled is both your greatest weapon and your greatest burden, but it is also what makes you unstoppable. So if you're a true Sigma, own it. Walk your path. Live by your own rules. Because at the end of the day, the most dangerous man is not the one who fights the system, but the one who doesn't need it at all. And with that, Sigmas, if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and join this community of lone wolves. Keep applying the Sigma mindset for an impactful life. Having said this,